You just have to put a jacket on for us. It's awful warm.
It's not too bad.
Oh.
But it is good to see everyone here, even though we are few in number. It's still good to see y'all here. Glad that y'all were able to make it. Continue to be in prayer for Tony and Karen, because they're heading down to Hopkinsville to help work a booth for their mission trip. Trying to help raise money for that. And Dakota and Jonathan are with them. And so that's why they're not here today, but continue to pray for them. And today it's going to be a kind of a history lesson. It's not really going to be a sermon. I'm going to be starting to do some sermons on the book of James. Coming out of there. And this is kind of like, Kayla, if you know, one of the first things teachers have you read in college is the introduction and preface and all that tells you who wrote it, why they wrote it, what their goal was to begin with. That's kind of what today is. There's no real scripture, but in a lot of your study Bibles, the first page right before James, it talks about the date of the book and the writings and the author and what it's saying. And that's kind of what I'm going over today. People in years past, early church fathers and others, have questioned whether or not James should have been in the Bible. And they base it partly on because he only mentions the Lord twice in 5 chapters. And they've debated on how does this apply to Christian life. How does that book apply? Because, and this is another argument, he talks a lot about works. And they say, there are some people that say that it contradicts Paul when Paul's talking about saved through faith and grace. And they say that James kind of is talking more of a work salvation, but it's not that. He doesn't talk, it's not that at all. Yes, it is, he is talking about works, but it is not a salvation works. It is a result of your faith works that he's addressing. Paul, in his writings, is usually concerned with people that have not become Christians yet, that are not Christians. And he's trying to explain to them through fact that it's through their faith and belief in Jesus Christ that they're saved. And this little book of James is more addressed more towards the church itself. Okay, and he's like, okay, you've been saved and you've got faith, but now show me what that faith is doing. You know, how can you demonstrate faith? In different aspects. It's written more towards the church, but it's not just one church in particular like Paul's famous for. It's written to the church in general. It's called this is one of the books they call a Catholic book. Now that's not Roman Catholic, but using the word Catholic in that it means universal. It's written to all churches. It's written to everyone, not just to one group of people. And it is generally believed that the book of James was the first book written after Christ's death. And that it was written around 62, the year 62 AD, which is well before Paul when he wrote Romans and some of his other books. So based on that, there's no way he could contradict, he could be trying to discredit Paul's writings, because Paul wrote after James did. Another big question is, who is this James? Who is this person James that wrote this book? In the New Testament, we know of 3 to 4 different James. There's James, the brother of John, who was also the son of Zebedee, which is the evangelist John, the one that wrote the book of John and everything. It's his brother. But he didn't write this book because he was beheaded by Herod before 62 and before some of this other, I'm not sure exactly, but he was beheaded. But he couldn't have done it. Then there's James the Less. Because there was, like I said, there's several James. There's about 4 Jameses in the Bible. There's one they call James the Less. There's James the son of Alphaeus. James the son of Mary. Now some of these are the exact same person. Some of these could be the exact same person that we're talking about. Because some of the studies I was doing, like for Alphaeus, they were also saying that Cleopas, which is another woman that is mentioned in the Bible through some of the books, like at the cross and stuff, saying that James, the son of Cleopas, and other places, Cleopas and Alphaeus were the same person. It's just their names were spelled different, written different, depending on the language. 2 different languages, the name translated to 2 different words. So they say that makes it basically the same person. And then when Jesus was reading the scripture in synagogue out of Isaiah, and they were talking about his brethren were there. They were saying, is not this the son of Mary? Is this not the brother of James and Joseph and his sisters? Is this not the son of the carpenter? You know, there's some dispute between different churches on, is he a half-brother? Based on that reading, is he a half-brother? Or is he a cousin, more of a cousin? Because there's some that say that Joseph had married another Mary, but was Mary's sister. And Mary's sister, Mary, was a widow, and Joseph had married her. And then and that Mary and Joseph had kids, so that would make him kind of a half, or more of a cousin, because it was from a different Mary. Some people say that was so the Catholic Church could establish the perpetual virginity that they teach some. And then there's also the other train of thought dealing with Joseph and Mary is that after Jesus was born, then Joseph and Mary had kids of their own, making Jesus a half-brother to these. So there's debate about that. But they generally all agree. Well, there's debate on both sides. I won't say generally agree, but this James, was he a half-brother? And is he James the Less? Or what? Or is he a cousin or somebody else? No relations at all. They haven't quite figured it out yet. But it is also believed that James, the one that wrote this book, is the James that he appeared to, that Jesus appeared to before he ascended into heaven. In one of the sermons, in one of the appearances that I didn't cover in my sermons, but that James, and that he appeared to this James. Now they do all tend to agree that this James was the one in charge, or president, whatever you want to call it, the bishop of the Jerusalem church. Yes?
I'm just in a message with her now. I think it's happening again.
Oh. Okay. And so, you know, if you got study Bibles at home, a lot of these things I've just pointed out will be covered in that. And there's a lot of debate over that and what type of relation was he to Jesus. Was he his half-brother? Was he a cousin? Or something else? So, but I'm going to be covering James starting week after next. And we'll be going through it bit by bit. And if we look at it from the standpoint that this is written more to the church and not a new believer, it will come out. We'll have a deeper understanding. Because Martin Luther didn't like this book. He said it's a straw epistle. Or some people don't like it because it's very sticky. Because of the way it's written, what it talks about. But it still applies to us today. And so, I'm going to end my presentation there, my introduction to James.